And then all of a sudden the car flips over and does like a 360 in the air, lands down in a 20-foot ditch.
I'm like, no one's coming. We have to scale the 20-foot cliff and like flag someone down, or we're just going to sit here till who knows when.
Okay, so we have to explain this accident. So I just start and then I'll just say,
I can't stop yawning. Yeah. What is wrong with me?
I think it's yours now. Coach Greg, and I'm here with
Allie Smith.
And it's her first time in the YouTube room.
First time in the YouTube room.
And so we're back from the Dominican. It's been 6 days since the accident. It's still dark out. We're going back home from the bars. And what happens? How did we crash? Do you remember?
Well, I was looking at my phone, so I don't really remember. I just heard after the fact what happened.
So the taxi driver hit into something, a guardrail on the road. It felt like we crashed once because we hit into the guardrail, and then we're slamming around the back seat, and then all of a sudden the car flips over and does like a 360 in the air, lands down in a 20-foot ditch. I slammed the back of my head on the side of a, what is it called?
The door frame
thingy.
Yeah.
And you land in between my legs on the floor. And then the accident's over. And midway through the accident, I'm thinking, oh, it's not so bad. I just hit a little bit. But then the final hit was pretty bad for me. And I had a big swelling in here. And you were just basically, your body had cuts and pains in your neck and stuff.
Yeah, I was like a rag doll being thrown around the car. So I don't really remember. It was very, very dark. I remember pieces of the inside of the car flying everywhere and me flying everywhere as we were rolling. And then there was like a sudden, like, jarring, like, bam. So
yeah, really stopped hard.
It really stopped hard. But we landed upright, like the way that we were supposed to. But we had collected all this mud somehow on our roll. Like it was coming through the windows because the windows were broken. So we were all like just covered in
She got
mud.
up with no shoes that flew out the window, and her cell phone was gone. My cell phone, I found it in the trunk. I found your purse a bit later, and no one came. There was no, like, police or, like, you'd think there'd be, like, firefighters or like ambulance.
There was OnStar in the car, so I kept hearing it say, "You have been in a collision. You have been in a collision." And so I thought, okay, someone's coming. We heard sirens, so I'm sitting on the ground because my hands and legs were numb. I was in complete shock. So we're just sitting there, and then the sirens are getting further and further away. So like 20 minutes we're sitting there, and then all of a sudden I think to myself, no one saw us. We're down 20 feet, so you can't see the car. No one saw us veer off the side of the road. I'm like, no one's coming. We have to scale the 20-foot cliff and like flag someone down, or we're just going to sit here till who knows when.
Yeah, so eventually we climbed up, and it's really steep. Like I'm impressed you could get up bare feet.
Well, there was
like branches that you could kind of.
I thought like, oh my gosh, we're going to die here. We need to get out of here. Well, that's what my mind, what my mind thought. I thought like, I don't feel well. We need to like get out of this ditch. I was freezing. I just had a little dress on. I'm covered in mud. I have shock.
A lot of mud.
I'm shivering. I was like, we need to get out. So literally you're like pulling like branches and trees in my bare feet, trying to like climb up to like flag someone down, which we did. Like a bunch of people stopped.
Post-traumatic stress just thinking about it. Like I'm just like losing. Yeah, like I remember hitting it and just being like that, and then like being like, okay, no one should move because you're in shock, and then you're like,
you don't know if you have like neck injuries.
Your body parts all together.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at you on the floor. I'm like, okay, did she break anything? Because your neck is, it's like you got to make sure you don't do something. Then you get injured after.
I know.
I'm like, well, we have to get out eventually. I thought somebody's going to kind of like get us out, but after there was like no one coming, so we're like, well, I feel like I can move around.
Yeah.
I got out. And then I started like filming the vehicle just to see what it looked like.
Like the driver and Greg both had cell phones, but like when you're in shock and sort of not really thinking, like we didn't even think to call 911. Like
I didn't even know if that worked in a different country.
I think it's a across the world number.
I looked for my phone to do that initially because when I was sitting down, I was like, I felt like there was a button because sometimes I'm riding my bike and it'll call 911 by accident. I have to stop.
Oh yeah, there's
right
like
away.
an emergency.
So I wanted to do that because I was like, I think that could work, but then I couldn't find my phone because it was in the trunk. So I remember initially trying to do that actually, but yeah. So
and then like there was 3 vehicles, like 2 buses and like a big dump truck that stopped. and they like pulled the guardrail off of the road.
Yeah.
And we like there's a picture of it. I'm
like
not
a 20-foot guardrail.
Yeah, it was like a 20-foot guardrail. So I'm not sure if the guardrail was in the center of there was like 2 lanes going one way and 2 lanes going the other way. You know when guardrails start, how they start like on a bit of like a ramp, and then they're posted in like along the side of the highway. I don't know if we hit that and ripped it off, or if somehow that piece was already ripped off and it was on the highway and that's what we hit. But we definitely hit a guardrail, which sent us like flying. And then on the other side of our 2 lanes, we flew over the 3-foot guardrail that should have stopped us, but obviously we were airborne.
Yeah, you would think the guardrail would be high.
Well, that's what they're there for.
I don't know.
Because it's a 20-foot drop. Like,
going pretty fast. It's a highway.
Yeah.
So, the speed limit's like 100 and whatever. Like,
Yeah.
So that was pretty quick. Then we take a bus back to the resort. The doctor looks at us. For me, my blood pressure is through the roof. Like, it's 200 over 110, and then it's 170 over 110, 180. And so they're worried about that. But I have the lump, but nothing's really wrong.
Yeah.
And then we get showered up. We go to the hospital, and they kind of look around.
We had to shower because we were covered in mud. I'm like, the doctor at the resort wanted to send us right to the hospital. Like, he put a neck brace on me. And I was like, we have to shower, and I have to get like shoes and like clothes on because I was in like a little dress. So
you just want it to be over with. You're just like, I'm sick of this.
I just wanted
Same as going to that hospital, and they looked at her, and a nurse took my blood pressure and said it was 130 over 70. I'm like, there's no way. I could feel my blood pressure. And I had taken diuretics at this point because they wanted to lower my blood pressure. So we go back to the resort hospital, and then they take my blood pressure again, and it's like 180 over 110. And then I'm getting a prescription for beta blockers to lower my blood pressure again. Then I go to sleep eventually, like the next day. Like, you got to think, we stay up for like 2 days straight here. I'm told don't lay down. I'm like, I'm just going to fly home to Canada, get the doctors there.
Well, we couldn't get on a flight that day because it was at 2:30, and we
just had a flight the next day.
Yeah, we had a flight the next day at 2:30. So
then I started getting these, I don't know, I show
weird
pictures,
bruises.
but like bruises in the back of my ear on this side and then that side, and we're like, I didn't hit there.
That one's barely there anymore.
It's going away. Some doctors are writing in and saying it's called battle sign for when you have a basal skull fracture. And so I'm like starting to get some panicking going on because I'm thinking, well, I have this huge lump and there's pain in my head, but not like crazy painful, and the blood pressure. And then I went to sleep, and it was like I was on trend, like mid through the night. Like, this is like a day after the accident.
This would have been Thursday night.
The sheets are drenched. Yeah.
This would have been Thursday night.
And I'm like, why am I soaked? And then so apparently you can hit maybe your hypothalamus or something, which regulate like blood pressure and sweating and epinephrine being released. I don't know. I'm not a brain expert, but I'm like, this is not good. And then I'm like, okay, we're flying right to Halifax, going straight to the hospital. So we get on the flight, we go to Halifax, and there's a snowstorm, and so we fly to Quebec.
We get rerouted.
And I'm like,
we're circling Halifax.
And with our bad luck, of course, we can't land, so we're now going to Quebec. We're supposed to land an hour ago, but there's snowstorms, so that's delayed hospital visits. It's not really good to be on a flight to begin with, but what are you going to do? Can't do anything.
And then we go to like New Brunswick, and then we go to Quebec.
I'm like, I need to go to the hospital. I don't know what's going on. So we get to the hospital. We get to Quebec. Allie just wants to go to bed.
So
I'm like, we're going to the hospital.
So let
with
me
or
just
without
tell
you.
you, going to the hospital for me would be like the worst case anxiety I could ever get in my life.
Can't handle hospitals. So
I've
she has a
been
fear
in a lot of
hospitals
hospitals.
or whatever.
I had a reoccurring hospital dream like my entire childhood that I don't even sort of remember what it was. I remember what it was, but it wasn't scary. It shouldn't have been scary, but it was scary. So for me, don't go to the hospital unless I'm dying. Like, I literally have to be on my last breath to be like, okay, take me to the hospital.
I broke my elbow, and I'm like, I'm going to the hospital.
I was like,
she's like,
you
you're
just
fine.
sprained it.
Don't worry about it.
You
I
just
literally
twisted
couldn't
it.
move my arm. It was detached. There was no tricep tendon attached.
Yeah.
I go to the hospital. I'm like, so they're getting a surgeon in because
I was like, I guess you did need to go to the hospital.
I'm like, no sympathy from this one. So I'm like, I better go because everyone's writing me. It's like, if you have this skull fracture.
And I'm like,
scared
no,
I'm going
we're
to sleep,
fine.
that
We're
I'll die
fine.
if I wake up.
I'm like, if nothing's happened by now, it's been like
This is their
over
theory. Just
24
wait it out,
hours.
and if you don't die, you're fine. And if you die, well, you probably should have gone. And
Exactly.
I'm like, I'd rather be proactive and make sure
See,
I'm
I'm not
okay.
like that. I'd rather just take my chances and do the last thing on earth that I'd ever want to do, which is go to the hospital. I already went to the hospital in Dominican. Everything was fine. I saw the resort doctor. Everything was fine. I didn't need to go to. I only went because of him.
They didn't look at me. They didn't even look at the back of my head.
This is the Dominican doctor.
130/70 blood pressure, and like, you're good. And I'm like, I do not feel good. And I have, I mean, we're hungover, but like, I'm like, my brain fog is like not good. And I'm like,
Well,
I
we
don't
were in
feel
shock.
proper. Anyway, in Quebec, they do all the tests, the scans, and whatnot. And there's nothing
They x-rayed
broken.
like every part of me. Like I had like 10 x-rays. Like everything that hurt, they x-rayed. And it was awesome because the nature of our injuries and the nature of the accident, they triaged us right away. So we didn't have to wait.
By right away, it only took 2 hours. Literally.
No, I mean like
2 hours.
Well, triage just means
It took 2 hours.
they bring you in. They don't. We didn't wait at all.
Right away, it's like if we would have had a heart attack, they would have brought us in right away. It took 2 hours.
He doesn't know what it means, but I'm pretty sure it means that when you're triaged right away, you don't wait in the waiting room. So there's different like
we went to 2 windows and did a 1 hour interview at
Yeah,
each,
but the waiting room was full, my love.
True.
So they triaged us. They got us in to see the nurse,
Yeah, so right
got us
away,
in neck
2
braces,
hours, we
and
got
took
in.
us back right away.
That was great. Only 2 hours. And then we did the testing, and then they said, I'm fine. I just have a concussion. We can go. And then I went to get up, and I couldn't. And then I had the dizziness and whatnot. And then half an hour later, I was able to stand up. And now I just have, like, dizziness when I lay down or stand up. But other than that, I feel pretty good, aside from, like, not being able to think as well or read as well, just focus as well. My anxiety is less than it was, so it's getting better. I've been able to do a bike ride, and I've trained with weights and ridden, and I find that helps a lot. A lot of people just sit around, do nothing. Way worse. Like, just sitting there and thinking is not fun for me, and exercising is way better. Whether it helps you physically or not, it certainly helps mentally, so I'm certainly going to be training every single day and not just sitting around. You haven't done anything yet. You like sitting around. That's just your style.
Well, my ankle
Plus you're in
is
pain.
yeah. He doesn't really get it. He understands
everything.
himself. He doesn't understand
You
me.
have a foot injury, so you can't run around and do cardio.
Yeah, and I have a major neck issue, so
Yeah.
just moving my upper body hurts.
Yeah, it's different. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have any physical pain, so I'm going to go and exercise because
Yeah.
it makes me feel good. But for you, if it hurts to move your head and you have a red or blue ankle. So I have a neurologist appointment in 2 days, which I was lucky to get. Usually takes years. When I first got back, it was very difficult to try to do videos and whatnot, but I find it's getting better. So I think that I'll be normal in a matter of time.
Yeah, it just
People
takes
that have
time with
concussions say it takes a while to feel normal, but I feel like I'm doing quite good now. Just dealing with the dizziness, laying down, getting up, middle of the night. It could have been so much worse, like looking at the accident. I feel excessively lucky in terms of like looking at the accident and thinking, I didn't go through a windshield and have my face ripped off by glass. Like,
yeah, it definitely
it's
could have been
crazy
way
how
way
bad
worse.
It was.
They do make cars structurally really really good now with like the frames and the bars and everything they put into it, because like we shouldn't be alive. Like, it's just crazy to think about, like a car can withstand that type of accident and 3 people walk away with just minimal
airbags
injuries.
in the front obviously makes it better. Back, there's no airbags, but like it's still like shot. Like, I don't know, I've probably gone over the accident like 150 times.
Yeah.
But it's just shocking to think about it and think what happened and like the memories of it. And I drove once already and I'm scared. I'm like, and then when I'm only driving 50 or 60 going on a turn, I'm like, man, if I crash this on purpose, nothing would happen probably.
No, you just crash and
Like,
go into
you have
the
to
ditch.
drive like, I mean, if you had hit on 50 and 50 and it adds up to like 100, it'd probably be pretty serious. But like, we were going fast. Like, to land like that, you can't just, if you're driving 50 and you go in the ditch, you're just kind of like going in the ditch.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, obviously
Well,
things
we were
bad
on a
can happen,
highway,
but
so on highways you drive over 100 kilometers an hour.
the flying around in the car is not like a 50-kilometer-an-hour accident. It was like, you're going.
It all happened in like 2 seconds, so that's how fast we were going, because everything just like...
Well, the whole accident was a lot longer than that, but the first part was 2 seconds. And then I thought, oh, that wasn't so bad. And I thought the car would kind of come to an end eventually, and then I was like, and then I'm like, shit. And then I'm like, it's not so bad yet, not so bad yet. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Sucks. I remember at the end just thinking, oh, we were going so well. And in my head is...
The night was going so well.
Yeah, and it's like in like 1 second. You guys watch that show, do you guys watch that YouTube video with the boat? And they're just riding along, and it became a meme. Like, that was us in the back of the car, and this girl is sitting on my side, and all of a sudden, like that, it was like, poof, like she was between my feet. I was like, oh my God. And at the same time, my head slammed on the side of the car so fast, and it's like swollen out. So it's like, ugh. It was so good till that moment. We were making it. And it was such a great night. It was so fun.
So much fun.
So we had a good week at the Royalton. So we're alive. We're
thankful
grateful
we're
that
alive.
We're alive. It could have been a lot worse.
So
I mean, look
much
at
worse.
us. We look pretty much normal.
Yeah.
She's got her hair did now. She looks normal.
I looked like a bit of a wreck for a couple
Compared
days
to the
after.
mud situation.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a black eye, which
do.
just doesn't even hurt at all.
No.
My lip is down. It's not all messed up anymore. So.
Yeah, your face was a little bit like sideways.
And my body
when it first
doesn't
happened.
feel bad. Like I worked out with weights. And
It's just my neck. Like every time I move, it's all down in
And
my
your leg,
shoulder.
'cause I touch it
My
in the
leg is a
middle of the night and your
nightmare.
leg just
My
sore.
my leg is, I would say, my most damage that I sustained, because my neck is all just soft
Knotted up,
tissue
maybe?
knotted up. That's all it is. Like obviously like whiplash and going from side to side, but my shin, like it hurts all the time. Like right now it's like throbbing. So I'm trying to keep it elevated because that's when it feels the best, which is like she's just sitting all the time. But the throbbing, and it's so swollen and like black and blue. It's just not, it just hurts a lot.
And so many of you are probably thinking they're laking all this shit up because I'm the one that looks like I tanned and went down south. She looks like she's been a hermit in an igloo. Probably blink twice if Greg's not holding you captive at his house.
Lets you into
We've
the
never
house.
seen her in the YouTube room. She's completely pale. She's clearly never seen any sunlight in the last 2 months. So we
Okay.
actually went on vacation. She
We
just
did.
wears appropriate sunscreen.
I see everyone's always like, get that girl a tan, get her makeup on. Listen, I am not that kind of a person. Plus, I can't tan.
Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for your algorithm, and don't forget about the cookbooks, the training books, the Circle Diet book, coaching plans by me and my team, all kinds of stuff. You can buy it. Use code Greg, you get 10% off. Remember, click the link in the description, code Greg, 10% off. Watch the tube loops, comment for your algorithm, like the video if you liked it, and until next time,
We are out.